Hello, all. And we are waiting for more attendees to come in. This is Sherry Fishman, and I am the chair of the Marketing and Innovation Committee. We are so excited to be here today for our next virtual roundtable. In an effort to do this in 1 hour, we are going to get started, and I'm going to kick it over to my colleague here and my fellow committee member, Ryan Hicks, to kind of kick it off. Ryan?
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sherry, and thank you, everybody, for being here. For those that don't know me, my name is Ryan Hicks. I'm the managing partner of Franchise Supplier Network, and since we're on an hour schedule, we're just going to jump straight in. I'll give a little quick housekeeping here. If you could hit the participants drop down, hit the edit button, and change your name to franchisor, franchisee, or supplier, that's going to help the IFA team be able to match people for the breakouts. So click the little participants drop down, click edit, and add franchisee, franchisor, or supplier. And we're going to follow the same flow because the flow works really well for kind of facilitated conversations. I will introduce the first topic. Then we're going to go into breakout sessions and have a lively discussion. I'll tee up those topics here in a sec. We're going to come back. The group leaders, the facilitators are denoted in the background. You see the little IFA backgrounds. Those folks are going to give feedback from each of the groups, take notes, because there's always a lot of really good stuff there. And then we'll go break out into the second round of topics. And so I'm not 100% sure if we have who the other facilitators will be. So we have Jeremy Leduc from Bridgeline. He's a facilitator. We have Angela Pauls from Buzz Franchise Brands. We have Martha O'Gorman from Loyalty Brands. And I believe Mary from Eularity will also be the fourth facilitator. So thank you, facilitators, for your leadership and for being stewards of the conversation. So those folks will kind of direct and lead the conversations. Our two topics for today the first is personalization and marketing. The second topic is sustainability and ethical branding. There's actually a lot of opportunities within that, and these are two meaty topics. I'll make a few comments on the personalization piece. And I would say first that personalization really isn't a luxury anymore. I think that consumers expect it. It's expected by consumers, whether it's your email communications, it's the digital experiences, the individual customer journeys, along that path. Personalization really is it's key for engagement. It's key for conversions, and kind of more macro. If you just think about part of what makes franchising special, it's the local feel, it's the local relationships. It's why franchisees exist. They bring the business to market, and they're the feet on the street. But it's their business, and it's a personal business. And so this is a big topic. So let's break out into our discussion rounds, and the facilitators will steer a conversation, be active, participate, and experience share. So look forward to seeing you guys back here shortly.
I'm going to step in here to do some feedback. I'd love to start. I was in Jeremy's group. It was great. Jeremy, do you want to give just a quick recap?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a diversity of franchisors, right from Midas to an AVA therapy to Denny's, right? And so what was interesting was we took a very high level approach to looking at the overall strategy. What are you communicating? Who are you communicating to? Where, when, and why? And we dug into each one of those, right? And you really need to think about, Mary mentioned, you need to think about, the preferences. Like, you got to listen to your audience and figure out, how do they want to be communicated to? Is it in an email? Is it in a portal? So personalization doesn't have to just happen in one medium, and where do they, at what times, we also talked about when, and I know there's a lot of automation software out there that can start to automate that stuff for you. And another real quick nugget was, I thought it was interesting, is a lot of times we look at personalization and we try to get just really sophisticated on, I want to pull this data out and I want to merge it in because I want these folks to, know that we're really specific. But I heard something interesting in our session where one of the individuals was talking about the fact that they have single unit franchisees and multi. And to me, that alone is a piece of personalization. Like if I'm a multi-unit owner, I'd want to be talked to as a multi-unit owner, not a single. So sometimes, we might overlook the really big audience, segmentations of, let's figure out who people are and segment them down. So.
Awesome. Great insights. Angela, what about you and your group?
Yeah, so we had a really nice, intimate group, some great conversation. And I think, one of the things that came up was sort of just the fact that the word personalization itself can be a bit of a cringy word because you kind of have to find, depending on the circumstance, the product or service you're promoting, consumer versus brand dev, et cetera, the right balance between how much you let somebody know about them versus like coming across creepy versus speaking to someone in a relatable way that will make them feel like, oh, okay, I appreciate that you've done your research sort of thing, or you're speaking to someone that's appropriate. So I think that was a good kind of overarching thought. And then we talked about just the importance of having an integrated tech stack so that you are able to set some of these things up as automated processes versus it being a manual process to customize the experience for each person. And then we hit on just the challenges of it gets easier to personalize once we have someone's information, but how can we try to start that process up front before we've captured their information? So being able to look at ways to put customized messaging in different places or use tools to be able to capture people's aspects of information about people before they've submitted forms and that sort of thing. And then really using their journey to help personalize the experience. So not just focusing on, again, some of those cursory name, location sort of information that we have, but more looking at things like, okay, if we know that they came to us through a specific page of our website that's focused on a certain topic, whether it's price, whether it's something along those lines, then the first message they should get should be specifically tied to that topic versus every single person who comes in getting the exact same kind of welcome informational message.
Those are great. That I loved each and every one. Mitch, what about your group?
Yeah, probably two big takeaways. One of the folks mentioned really, to avoid that one size fits all, sort of that batch and blast, put it all together and just send it out. The personalization really makes a difference in capturing, just a larger share of who you're communicating to, especially in terms of digital communications. And really the other thing that, I think Angela touched upon a bit as well is involved in or pertaining to your tech stack is utilizing some of these partners, and there's so many of them out there that could really personalize, the communication method, which I think, again, it just captures, just gives you the opportunity to capture just a larger share of audience. So those are really the two big takeaways from our group.
Thank you for that. And Martha, I think yours are next.
Oh, thank you. Where Jeremy was leaving off, I guess, was about, internal audiences as well, and, multi-unit franchises compared to single unit. And one of the things that we hit on, which I found to be really impactful, is, we all have employees in these franchise organizations, and they need to be communicated with in a way that is going to get them to come back to you next year if you're a seasonal business like a tax preparation business or an ice cream business. And so we need to think about our internal audiences as well with the personalization. And I think the big takeaways that we had were we all have the same kind of feelings and problems about making sure that your personalization is correct, as opposed to sending somebody a letter with the wrong name on it, or sending information that applies to someone else, and your database is just maybe off by one name. That could be a real disaster. And so you have to really look at the data and the quality of your data and make sure that your communication to the folks that you're trying to be friends with is really accurate, because no better way to lose a friend than to call them by the wrong name.
Ain't that the truth? Okay. Well, I think we're going to be moving on to our next topic, which includes ethical branding and really talking more about that. I think IFA is going to split us up into breakout groups and we'll get started.
All right, we will go ahead and go around the horn to get feedback for the last topic. Let's start with Jeremy. What say you on your group's conversation?
I'm going to do something different here. Sherry was so articulate and understanding and framing this up. She's going to have to do it again here for the larger audience.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Jeremy. I would say that when you're talking about a brand in their local communities and promoting sustainability and ethical practices, it's very important to understand that it goes back to your core values and your mission. That's really why you're in franchising, okay? That's, if you go back to the mission of the IFA, it's the heart of everything we do in the franchise, doing, that we are working with franchise business model in general. So it's going back to that. That means that it's your ethical, that is what you need to do. It is a priority in your life. So that means everything you do, you have to think about what you can do to the community that you serve, as from a customer standpoint and from an investor standpoint. So that means giving back in your local community to keep customers, to get customers, to entice new investors is the name of the game here. And how to do that is through, giving back into your local community, through charitable tie-ins, through Habitat for Humanity. In our talk, we had an amazing discovery that was prompted an aha moment of what that company had already done, about Make-A-Wish. Make-A-Wish had been contacted by a little boy with terminal brain cancer who wanted a program put together for them. It is more of a coding concept that is coming to the United States, but it is in Mexico. And they built this program, and the doctor actually came back and said that this boy is now motivated to go through treatment. How awesome is that? And that goes back to their core value of making their children's lives better. So, I mean, that really is the core of it. And everything that we do, it goes back to customer satisfaction. It goes back to everything. When you're judging and you're differentiating one versus the other, why not, choose the one that makes sense? And the one that makes sense to you is somebody who is supporting good things. Because we're all in this together.
So next time we will have Sherry Fishman do a keynote on this topic. That was great. It's like, it could be national, it can be local, it could be monetary, and it can be non-monetary, as I was in a group. Let's go to Martha. What say you for your group?
I say exactly the same thing that Sherry said. It was kind of just what we said, but all put into one nice little package. But, talking about consumer demand for sustainability, that your commitment to it helps to build your reputation and trust. There's the whole thing about regulatory compliance, and we were talking about how franchises are famous for their yard signs and their plastic yard signs with their metal stakes, and how horrible for the environment that is, because what happens to those signs? They go into a landfill and they never dissolve. And so we need to start looking for better ways to market that are inexpensive, and also to understand that there are things we can do from a marketing perspective with partnerships, to to do events. For instance, we do shredding events quite often now, because people don't want to pay to have their stuff shredded. Number one, we do it for free, and they load up our trucks. And to me, that just says that there's such a need for places where people can dispose of their things that are, creating unsustainability in a way that will make it easier for them to, to do it, and then not have to pay for it, but to commit to the programs that we are backing. So, and I just, as on my high horse, I'd like to say that I am not afraid for my future, but I am afraid for my children and my grandchildren's future. And I think that all of us, if you stop and think about it, what could happen in the next 30 or 40 or 50 years if we don't do something about this? It's scary.
I love it. Amanda shared some good examples in the chat. And as we round out our conversation with 7 minutes left, shout out Amanda. If you have any other examples and ideas that come to mind as we're talking about this, drop it in the chat, because I think that's helpful for everyone. So let's go to Angela. I was in your group and we had a discussion. What say you?
Well, I say, I think one of the things Sherry really hit on was that human element of business. And I think that's a big part of this conversation, is that people want to do business with people and with some heart behind the business. And so I think when brands are contributing, whether it's through sustainable practices or whether it's through mission-based partnerships, purpose-driven brands, that sort of thing, it allows people to feel like they're working with a company where they're contributing to sort of the greater good. So that was definitely a theme of our conversation. And then we also talked about the different ways that can play out, whether from a national level or a local level. So you could see that the example in the chat was a good one with that, where there are some brands who have just a national level partnership. It does make it very easy for franchisees and customers to contribute and be a direct part of that. But then there's also some unique ways where you can kind of bridge the gap between having franchisees fully do things at a local level on their own, which may be a little bit harder to capture the greater impact of, but also allowing them some freedom in the choice. So one of the examples from our group came from Donato's Pizza, where they created a foundation where every 4 months, there's a different focus area from their kind of give back efforts. So for 3 months, it's housing, and all of the franchisees at the local level are supporting causes that tie back to housing. For another 3 months, or 4 months, it's hunger, and then another 4 months, it's health. And so it's kind of a way for them to kind of bridge that gap between national and local. And then the last part, we got a little bit onto the sustainability as sort of the more environmental or earth aspects. And we talked a little bit about the challenges between sustainability and business, in the sense of saving money. And, some sustainable efforts can be more expensive. Some of them can sometimes conflict with the needs of the services that we're trying to provide, or the quality of the services. So there's just a lot of challenges and considerations in that for businesses as well. So not always an easy process.
Yeah, I really love that framework at Donato's. I think it was Aaron that talked about, because of the flexibility of it, and then like the ability to have it's national kind of directive with local selection. I thought that was really cool. So our last group, and I think we have one quick announcement before we break, but our last group, Mitch Baker.
Yeah, I'll be quick. So really the key takeaway is transparency. right? Being transparent with your customers, with your consumers, whether your product is recyclable, whether it's sustainable, how you're involved in your communities, how you're giving back to your communities. One of the examples that one of the participants had, which I thought was great, was that they worked with the flooring or they were working with or working for a flooring manufacturing company, and that they were very, very transparent in providing information as to how safe so people were asking questions basically like, okay, if my kids or my babies are going to be on the carpeting, how safe is this, right? Where's the sustainability comment, and where's the path in showing where this product was manufactured and how safe it is potentially for my child. So I thought that was important. But again, the key takeaway, as I mentioned, was being very, very transparent and forthcoming. Because if you're transparent, if you're honest up front, I think that can avoid a lot of issues, sort of down the road when something pops up.
Awesome. Well, I'll toss it to Sherry or IFA. I'm not sure who, but talk about Advocacy Summit and Emerging Franchise Conference.
Hi, all. Thank you. You did a fabulous job. Thank you to my committee and all my facilitators. Thank you to Ryan and to Mary as well. Wanted to thank you for spending a very fruitful hour, and I hope that you got as much out of it as I did. So I wanted to just end with a couple of announcements from the IFA that the registration has opened already for the Advocacy Summit in Washington, D.C. in September, and I urge you all to go. Speaking of that whole sustainability and supporting the franchise business model, that is how you do it. That is how you make a difference in going to lobby for your government officials. And
very important now. Yes.
Very, very, very important.
Never been more important.
Go do it. Promote
do
it.
Do it. Promote it. Promote it to your franchise system. To get more franchisees there. You need to, all franchisees on this call, get as many as possible to go. And then there is an emerging franchisor conference in November. So those two announcements, and have a great rest of the day. We did it in an hour. Thank you all.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.